My name is Daniela, I'm 25 years old. I studied communications, now I'm studying film in the Film School, and that's it. Actually, my grandparents are not from here. They're from my mother's side. The father of my mother, the family of the father of my mother, comes from It's a region near Poland, and they came here because they were persecuted in the region because they were Jewish. All my family is Jewish, and the family of my grandmother is from Germany. From my father's side, they come from Syria and Russia. Yeah, I chose to learn German. Actually, I got the German passport in 2005 because there was a change in the law.
Does your grandmother speak German?
Yeah, she speaks German. Actually, her parents were Germans, so she spoke German at home. But she doesn't speak for such a long time, and nowadays she cannot speak so well anymore. My grandmother, she went to live in Berlin, where she met the father of my grandmother. But they still had this industry because they were, it's pen, right? Panella.
Pen.
Yeah, pen, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they were owners of a very big pen industry in Germany. So they still had this industry when she moved to Berlin. But then the story is like this: she was in the metro one day, and she heard that Hitler got into power, and then immediately they flew away from Germany.
Do your grandparents ever talk about what it was like living here in Brazil as Jews?
It was, well, actually there's a story that my grandmother, because she studied in an American school in Recife, and when she was there, they were very poor. They were very rich in Germany, and when they came to Brazil, they were very poor. They had nothing. But in spite they were poor, in spite or despite?
In spite of being.
In spite of being poor, they put my grandmother in an American school for her to learn English. So she learned English in a very young age. And there, of course, she had relationship with the elite, or elite of the society in Recife. So there was one friend of hers when she was a child, that my grandmother said to her, come and play in my house and everything, and then her mother said, I don't want my children playing with Jewish children. So my grandmother kept everything, and because they were really rich, they had money to take photographs in a time that photography was being born. This is actually the grandparents of my grandmother. They were these are the ones who were the owners of the industry in Germany. This is in the factory, in the pen factory. This is her father. Wow. This picture is before Hitler got into power, because this is already the father of my grandmother. This is her mother, and they were saying. My grandmother says that in this picture they were like saying goodbye because they were coming to Brazil, and everybody was kind of laughing at them because they were coming because they were very rich, so they thought that nothing would happen to them.
What is your full name?
Daniela Wertzman Baghdadi.
So Baghdadi comes from where?
Both of them are Jewish, yeah. Baghdadi comes from Syria.
So
I'm
your family
Jewish.
So your family on your dad's side is Syrian but Jewish.
Jewish, yes.
Okay. So do you know their story?
Not so much. This is the side of the story that I don't know so much, because what I know is that it was really hard for them to be Jewish in Syria. So they came here, but they were very poor in Syria and in Brazil.
I have a really interesting story because everyone else that they've interviewed has one parent who's an immigrant, who either moved to Brazil or moved from Brazil, and that's why they have a strong connection. Well, that's why they may have a strong connection with Brazil and whatever other country is part of their life. But you have a lot of countries that are way distant from you, but you've made it a part of your life. Why did you choose to do that?
I'm fascinated about other cultures. I'm fascinated, and I love to spend time abroad, study. Actually, what I most like when I travel is not to visit the usual tourist points. You say this?
Tourist spots.
Tourist spots. I like to go inside a supermarket. because I see what people consume. I see the traditions. I see people who are away from this areas there. You know, common people who live in the place. I think if I would not have this history, I would do this. I would go abroad in the same way, because it's not because I have this history that I have a connection between cultures. It's not because of this. Because I'm very fascinated about other cultures. So I think this would happen, and I think I'm more Brazilian than anything else. And my great grandmother, and this is the founder of my.